I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we're reading from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, and let's focus on verse 21. They aroused my jealousy with a non-God and provoked me with their vanities. I will arouse their jealousy with a non-people and enrage them with a foolish nation. Now, these days, it's unusual to find committed relationships, because over half of the marriages end in divorce, and the talk shows and tabloids are just filled with rumors of infidelity. But can you imagine cheating on God? Most people cheat because they're looking for someone better. But after having been courted by God, there's nowhere to go but down. Not only that, but God is also jealous for His bride. Now, in today's chapter, the Lord turns the tables on Israel. He's telling them that instead of them making Him jealous by forsaking Him for other gods, then He's going to make them jealous, and He will enrage them because of His relationship with another people, whom He calls a non-people. If you go for non-gods, well, that's okay. I'll become the God of a non-people. See also the book of the prophet Hosea. Well, in the short term, God provoked Israel to jealousy when He eventually showed favor to Babylon by empowering Babylon to drive Israel out of the land. And in a messianic sense, God has shown His grace and His love upon the Gentiles through Jesus. That's right. Jesus' atonement is irrespective of nationality. And the Apostle Paul's conversion of Gentiles accompanied at least two purposes. It accomplished two purposes. It provoked Israel to jealousy by prompting them to return many Jews to the Lord. And number two, it parlayed Israel's transgression into an opportunity to redeem the nations. Romans chapter 11, verses 11 through 14 says this, I ask then, have they, speaking of the Jewish people, stumbled so far as to fall, that is to be irretrievably lost? He says, absolutely not. On the contrary, by their stumbling, salvation is come to the Gentiles to make Israel jealous. Now, if their stumbling brings riches for the world, that is, if Jewish people not following after the Lord brings a revival among the Gentiles, to which the Jews are like, hey, wait a minute, that's our God. Now, if their stumbling brings riches to the world, and their failure riches to the Gentiles, how much more will their full number bring? And now I'm speaking to you Gentiles in view of the fact that I am the apostle to the Gentiles. I magnify my ministry. If I can somehow make my own people jealous and save some of them. Now, if Israel would forsake the Lord for false gods of the Gentiles, perhaps, God is saying, they would forsake those false gods in favor of Him when God became the God of the Gentiles, right? If you guys love Gentile gods so much that you would leave me for them, what if I became the God of the Gentiles? Oh, well, the Gentiles do everything that's sophisticated and cool. Let's follow their gods. Well, what if I became their God? In essence, if you want to follow the religions of the Gentiles, then I'm going to cause the Gentiles to worship me. Therefore, following the Gentiles will lead you back to me. But Israel was supposed to lead the Gentiles to God. It's not the way it was supposed to go. Gentiles aren't supposed to lead Israel. Israel's supposed to lead Gentiles to the God. And that is what the Messiah, who is a Jew, did. Consider what the prophet Isaiah said about the Messiah when He came. Isaiah 42, verse 6. I, the Lord, have called you into righteousness, and I will hold your hand and keep you and give you for a covenant of the people, for a light of the Gentiles. Why? To open the blind eyes, to bring out prisoners from the prison, and those that sit in darkness out from the prison house. That's Isaiah 42, verse 6. But look at what He says in Isaiah 49, verse 6. It's too little, He says, for you, speaking of the Messiah, to be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore the survivors of Israel. I will make you a light to the nations, That's all the Gentiles. That my salvation, you remember Jesus' name in Hebrew means God's salvation. Literally, that my Jesus may reach to the ends of the earth. Think about these things. I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Check us out at groundworksministries.com.